He trusted them with his life, fought beside them, laughed with them, and when it mattered most, they left him to die. The weakest adventurer in the guild, the lowest race in the world. But that betrayal didn't end his story. It became the start of something terrifying. The laughter that followed could have powered an entire city. Light walked out with an F-rank tag, and the sudden realization that destiny, apparently, had a sense of humor. He took on the jobs no one else wanted, hauling rocks, chopping wood, sweeping streets, and then, on one particularly humiliating afternoon, fate decided to throw him a plot twist. Light once believed that effort could change destiny. He dreamed of earning gold, honor, and maybe even a life where his parents didn't have to count copper just to eat. When he arrived in the great city of adventurers, it felt like he'd stepped into a storybook. Tall towers, shimmering banners, and the promise that anyone could rise to glory. Anyone, of course, except a human. In this world, the goddess had created 9 races. Humans, naturally, were the typo she apparently forgot to proofread. The elves were elegant, beastmen were strong, and dragons could level mountains. Humans were mostly known for their ability to die creatively. When Light introduced himself at the Adventurers Guild, he proudly revealed his gift, unlimited gacha. It sounded mysterious and exciting, like a power that could change fate. The guild crowd leaned in with interest. Then came the demonstration. First roll, a bent fork. Second roll, a rotten apple. Third roll, a loaf of bread that had clearly lost the will to live. A woman named Sasha, graceful and far too confident, approached him. She led a party called the Conquered of Tribes, a group made up of 1 member from each race. It sounded noble, inspirational even, because nothing says racial harmony like having 7 people who barely tolerate each other sign up for a dungeon crawl. Their lineup was impressive. Garou, the beast man with claws sharp enough to match his temper. Drago, a dragonute who never missed an opportunity to remind people he could breathe fire. Naano, the dwarf who measured friendship in pints of ale. Sion, a dark elf whose main hobbies included shooting arrows and glaring. Diablo, the demon mage who considered smiling a mortal sin. And Santor, the centaur knight whose main contribution was dramatic speeches no one asked for. They claimed to want peace among all races and needed a human to complete their symbol of unity. Light thought it sounded perfect. It probably should have raised some flags when their group name sounded like a bad marketing slogan, but optimism makes you blind. He joined them, and for a while it felt like a dream. They laughed, shared food, teased each other, and made him believe he'd finally found people who saw him as an equal. He was wrong. Their latest mission took them into the dungeon known as the Abyss. It was famous for 2 things: killing everyone who entered and looking great while doing it. Light followed the team deep into its depths, unaware that he was walking straight into a trap. When they stopped moving, he thought they were setting up camp. Instead, they were setting up him. Drago informed him, in that charming tone reserved for workplace firings, that he was being dismissed. Garou translated that to plain language. He was useless. Even Sasha couldn't look at him. Light thought it was a joke. It wasn't. They admitted they'd only brought him along because the guild wanted to test whether his gift could rival a maestro's. Now that they'd confirmed he was as valuable as a bent spoon, they were done. He asked why they pretended to care. They told him it was easier to stab someone when they trusted you. Garou's claws flashed, cutting across his face. Drago gave the order to finish it. And Sasha, the one who had first hugged him, looked disgusted just to be near him. They mocked his race, his weakness, his dreams. When they left him bleeding on the cold stone floor, their laughter followed him. That was the day Light finally understood what people meant by adventuring is dangerous. When he woke, the darkness was absolute. He was alone at the bottom of the abyss, so deep that even despair had to climb down to reach him. Every breath burned, every movement hurt. He should have given up, but instead, he laughed, because apparently, fate wanted to see how much humiliation one man could take before he broke. Then came the growl. A level 1000 hellhound emerged from the shadows, its eyes glowing red, its teeth dripping fire. Light, brave as ever, froze in place and prepared for his inevitable obituary. He grabbed his gacha device and pressed the button. Nothing happened. Pressed it again. Still, nothing. After about 10 increasingly desperate presses, it finally lit up. The ground beneath him began to glow, symbols spreading across the stone. A magic circle flared to life just as the monster lunged. And then, silence. When the dust cleared, the hellhound was gone. And standing over its remains was a woman who looked like she had walked straight out of an impossible dream. She called herself May, his servant, born from the super-ultra-rare tier of his unlimited gacha. Light was understandably skeptical. It's not every day your useless ability suddenly decides to upgrade itself out of pity. May, however, was the picture of calm elegance. Silver hair, eyes like polished steel, and the presence of someone who could probably kill gods before breakfast. She healed his wounds effortlessly, explaining that his power had never been weak. It had been sealed. Too advanced for lesser beings to even comprehend. Light realized, with the clarity of divine irony, that the world had mocked him for something it wasn't smart enough to recognize. When May pledged to serve him until death, he decided maybe dying wasn't on the agenda anymore. After all, being betrayed was bad enough. Being betrayed and stupid would have been worse. 3 years passed. The abyss that had once swallowed him whole now lay beneath his throne. A foundation carved out of vengeance and quiet determination. The man who once begged for scraps now commanded an army that could crush kingdoms. They called him Light, the Lord of the Deep, a title whispered in awe and fear alike. His castle rose from the dungeon floor, a monument of black stone and shimmering mana veins that pulsed like a heartbeat. The air was alive with magic. Every corridor echoed with the sound of footsteps, maids, knights, and summoned warriors, all loyal to him alone. At its center stood Light, calm as ever, reviewing reports that no one dared to deliver late. May entered the throne room with her usual grace, bowing low before speaking. Her composure never changed, though her first concern was rarely war or logistics. According to May, the kingdom had a snack shortage. Again, apparently, even empires could be brought to their knees by a lack of sweets. Light sighed, wondering if this was what godhood felt like: limitless power, endless paperwork, and an economy powered by pastries. Still, he couldn't help but smile. 3 years ago, he'd been crawling through dirt. Now, he was debating dessert supply chains with a level 9,999 maid who could vaporize dragons. Outside the throne room, the castle was a different kind of battlefield. Aoyuki, the beast tamer, was busy charting maps of the surrounding dungeons. Her work ethic was flawless, though her sense of direction was questionable at best. Meanwhile, Ellie, his court mage, buried herself in ancient scrolls, researching spells strong enough to rewrite reality. She often reminded everyone, loudly, that her work was vital to Light's grand plan. Then there was Nazuna, the vampire knight, brilliant in combat, slightly less brilliant everywhere else. She patrolled the halls at night, humming songs about bravery, occasionally tripping over her own sword. Her devotion was unmatched, even if her logic wasn't. In one particularly chaotic morning, Nazuna was spotted peeking into Light's room for security reasons, only to find May inside, flustered and red-faced. Nazuna, of course, misunderstood the situation entirely and left with her imagination running wild. By the time she reached the courtyard, half the maids were gossiping about it. May spent the rest of the day explaining that cleaning the master's room was not a euphemism. It didn't help that the other 4 elite maids, each one a super rare summon, had begun to grow jealous. They complained that May monopolized Light's attention and never allowed anyone else to handle his chambers. In their words, a proper rotation system was needed. In May's words, over my dead body. To restore order, May gathered them in her study. A terrible idea, considering none of them could stay quiet for more than 10 seconds. The maids pleaded their case, citing fairness, household efficiency, and emotional distress. May listened patiently, then assigned them the most exhausting punishment imaginable: cleaning the endless hallway that led to the throne room, by hand. Light walked past hours later, watching the 4 of them scrubbing the marble floors while muttering curses. He didn't ask questions. Some things, he'd learned, were better left unexplained. Later that evening, Nazuna wandered into town with the spare coins May had bribed her with. For silence, as she put it, the vampire knight used them to buy pancakes and fresh milk, enjoying her heroic day off. Meanwhile, Aoyuki returned from her scouting mission, maps in hand and exhaustion written all over her face. She found Nazuna bragging about her bravery to anyone who'd listen and simply muttered, "I fight monsters for this." Ellie appeared next, holding a glowing parchment filled with new magical formulas. She and Nazuna immediately began arguing about who was more important to Light. Ellie claimed her spells protected the kingdom, Nazuna claimed her sword protected him personally. Their argument ended only when Mei appeared behind them, wordless, smiling, and terrifying. Back in the castle, the 4 punished maids had finished their cleaning and stumbled into Mei's office, hoping for forgiveness. Instead, they were handed new orders to clean the throne room next. Apparently, idle hands create unnecessary drama. They didn't argue, they'd learned. Unfortunately, while dusting the massive angel statue near Light's throne, one of them accidentally broke off a small wing piece. The maids froze. They knew Mei would notice, and when she did, they'd probably be scrubbing floors until the sun died. Elsewhere, Light was training in the underground arena with his strongest summon, Jack, a warrior so tough that even the dungeon walls seemed afraid of him. Jack's idea of encouragement involved punching Light hard enough to make the air shake. "Good form," Jack said, which was his way of saying, "You didn't die this time." Light struck back, his movements sharp and confident. Each blow echoed through the stone chamber like thunder. 3 years of relentless training had turned the once clumsy adventurer into something far beyond human. When the session ended, they both sank into the massive bathhouse that Mei had insisted on installing for hygiene and morale. Jack, ever the philosopher, noted that most adventurers would die instantly from the kind of hit Light had just survived. Light only smiled, replying that survival had become something of a specialty. That night, Mei summoned the 4 troublesome maids once again. This time, she didn't scold them. She simply asked them to sit and listen. Then, she reminded them, calmly, that Light had built this empire from nothing. Every maid, every wall, every spell, they all existed because one man refused to stay broken. The maids apologized, bowing so deeply their foreheads nearly dented the floor. Mei dismissed them, though not before assigning them another motivational task. By now, the castle functioned like a living organism, loud, busy, and somehow always one crisis away from imploding. But Light didn't mind. This chaos was his. He'd built it from pain, from betrayal, from every humiliation the world had thrown at him. One morning, while preparing to descend into the lower dungeons, Light encountered an old memory waiting for him in the dark, a hellhound. Same species, same glare, same sound that had once made his blood run cold. For a brief moment, the world seemed to stop. The memory of that first encounter, his fear, his hopelessness, returned like a ghost. But he wasn't that weak boy anymore. He stepped forward, calm and unflinching. The beast snarled, but something in Light's presence made it hesitate. It lowered its head and retreated into the shadows, as if paying its respects to the man who had once been prey. Light said nothing. There was nothing left to say. The past was finally behind him, and now, the future was his to burn. When he returned to the surface, the sunlight felt almost strange after so many years underground. The wind carried the scent of the same city where it all began. The same streets, the same guild, the same people who had laughed at him. Mei stood beside him, her voice steady as ever. She didn't ask what came next. She already knew. The day they betrayed him had sealed their fate. And now, Light was done waiting. The Lord of the Deep was going to rise. And this time, the world would be the one begging for mercy. Light's meticulously planned scheme was finally set in motion. The stage was the capital of the Beastmen, Accra, the Wolf City. Here, Garou, the former betrayer, had cemented his legend as a self-made god, a glorious title based entirely on self-deception and misplaced hubris. Naturally, his true nature was unchanged. He was currently spitting on a defenseless human kid, calling him a worm. Because, obviously, that's the peak performance of a legendary god. Garou was, as always, eager to gloat about his secret path to power, a path paved with nothing but sheer, magnificent betrayal. What a visionary. He proudly recounted his greatest achievement 3 years ago, eliminating a supposedly dangerous human master. The brat, Light, was meant to be a problem, but Garou, the self-proclaimed tactical genius, had conclusively proven him to be an absolute joke. They never found the body, which should have been a clue, but Garou remained utterly certain he had nailed the kill. It was dirty money, sure, but it bought him this miserable, bloody legacy. Worth it. Then, the true comedy began. Mei walked right into his bar. She played the role perfectly. A heartbroken servant weeping tragically over the disappearance of her noble-born master. Light, Garou, and his cronies had a good long laugh mocking the idea of a noble human, because nothing screams superiority like mocking the bereaved. But Mei's desperation was literally dripping with gold coins. Blinded by avarice and the impressive, debilitating height of his own arrogance, Guru, the strategic mastermind, fell for the whole sham. He immediately agreed to lead her to the death site, secretly planning to dispose of her for an extra payday. He truly believed he was having the best day ever. Guru led Mei into the deep, dark cavern, the cherished spot where they had left Light to die. Mei immediately dropped the tearful servant facade. Her voice turned to liquid nitrogen as she recounted every humiliating detail of the original torture. The betrayal, the arrow, the kicks, the blood. "This shame is far too much to bear," she sneered, sounding less like a distressed maid and more like the end of days. Guru was instantly paralyzed, his godly confidence having evaporated faster than water on a skillet. The sheer pressure radiating off her was terrifying. He was truly baffled. How could this mere human girl possibly know their deepest, most confidential secret? Before he could formulate a coherent and likely pathetic response, a voice cut through the shadows, pausing Mei's kill strike. "Mei, stop! Guru is my prey!" It was Light. Guru and his few remaining cronies burst into nervous, hysterical laughter. A level 15 brat wanted revenge on a level 150 powerhouse? What a hysterical misunderstanding. They had really underestimated the sheer comedic timing of the human race. Light remained preternaturally calm. As Guru's men charged, still trying to stifle their giggles, Mei moved with a boring lack of effort. Two heads rolled before the poor fools hit the floor. First blood. Light simply told Mei to block the exit. No soul will leave this place. Just a friendly, non-negotiable suggestion. Guru, desperately scrambling to keep his rapidly fragmenting ego intact, scoffed, calling the opening slaughter a lucky strike. Light's expression tightened, confirming the obvious. Nothing had changed. Guru still saw humans as low-level trash, even as the trash was making his friends resemble abstract art. Light, favoring efficiency over effort, disabled Guru's last few minions with casual taps of his staff. Taken aback, Guru frantically buffed himself with a magical stone, a precious artifact, and summoned a massive level 500 Fenrir. Light simply offered a quiet, theatrical shrug. Honestly, a level 500 monster? They were weak insects, barely qualifying as a pre-game warm-up. The massive creature attacked. Light did not even flinch. He stopped the colossal blow with a single, open palm. And then, in the ultimate display of, "Can you even believe this guy?" he calmly wiped the non-existent dust from his sleeve. Guru froze solid, his internal monologue sounding like a dial-up modem crashing. Light then casually flicked out an ultra-rare card and summoned his own level 5000 Fenrir, which instantly froze and obliterated Guru's weaker beast. Finally, Light looked into Guru's terrified, rapidly crossing eyes and revealed his level. The shimmering notation read, Level 9999. Guru's mind performed a complete factory reset. Humans could only reach level 100. Light, the one Guru thought he had successfully killed, was literally him. Light, wearing the deliberately simple youth bracelet, revealed the truth. He never forgot the despair or the rage. He wore the accessory as a constant, fashionable reminder of the humiliating start Guru had so thoughtfully provided him. Light demanded to know the identity of the masters, the anonymous puppet masters who ordered his execution. Guru immediately started pleading innocence, exhibiting a truly breathtaking, Oscar-worthy lack of self-awareness. But before his last remaining men could say anything helpful, Mei instantly executed them, slicing them all in half in one precise, decisive strike. The sudden, total massacre was so complete, Guru's whole pathetic worldview was instantly cancelled, that it caused him to urinate in absolute existential fear. Light warned him that Mei was equipped with the eye of truth and could literally see through lies. Lying, it seemed, was no longer a viable career path. Light then asked one final, truly practical question, seeking Guru's expert, shaking military analysis. Could the superior nations possibly win a war against his power? Guru, shaking uncontrollably, admitted that even at level 9999, Light was still only one human against centuries of accumulated power and weaponry. Light accepted the cold, hard logic. He knew his limit. He couldn't pass it alone, which was, of course, the entire, dramatic, long con point of the evening. Taking Guru, who was by this point mostly non-functional, Light used another rare card to teleport them all directly to his elaborate throne room in the abyss. There, Guru's eyes locked onto Light's terrifying army, a monstrous legion of war companions, every single one boasting dizzying four-figure levels that made Guru's level 150 look like a typo on a resume. Guru sat there, utterly stunned and incapable of even twitching. Light delivered the sentence. Not death, but perpetual despair. He would keep Guru alive, bound forever to witness the glorious, inevitable, and utterly smug rise of the very man he tried to destroy. Guru finally broke completely, dissolving into tears and asking if Light intended to become a god. Light smiled. He definitely liked the sound of that. I will, if that's what it takes. His final command echoed across the throne room, promising the end of the world as they knew it. It is time to mobilize and go to the surface. After 2 long months grinding in the abyss, Light finally made it back to the surface with his crew. He was hopeful, wanting to show his family his new strength, but that hope vanished instantly. The moment he saw his village, joy turned into profound horror. It was no longer a village, only ash and ruins. He simply collapsed onto the scorched earth, completely gutted. May and the others rushed to him, their shared promise of vengeance the only thing keeping him together. The single saving grace was the fact that his family's bodies weren't among the deceased. That absence was a fragile belief that they might have escaped the bloodshed and were still alive, hidden somewhere in the country. A couple weeks later, Light went back. He had to think straight. Perhaps in his shock last time he missed something important. This time he brought Gold, the sturdy armored knight, and Nemumu, the quiet assassin. The ruins still hit him hard, but he held it together. Together, they honored the fallen, digging graves and laying flowers for the villagers. Gold soon broke the heavy silence. Look, we must find a safe place, he urged, ever the pragmatic knight. We can't just sleep out here. Nemumu immediately stepped in, asking, seriously? Light is mourning. We must give him the time he needs. Gold did not back down. Listen, I'd go through hell for him, but we need him rested and secure. This small argument actually made Light smile. Hey, chill out, guys, I'm fine, he said, getting up. We'll find accommodation, but first, we need intel. He knows his team could probably take on the whole world, but caution is key. The village raid wasn't random. He realized he is being hunted as a potential maestro. The same shadowy society that put a hit on him killed his whole village just to get to him. The rage was immense. He swore right then and there to purge all evil by burning the whole world down. This chilling vow showed the depth of his broken spirit. Nemumu recoiled from the terrifying aura. Gold's voice was firm. Hold it. Keep that rage locked down until we're out of the city, okay? No massacres. Not yet. Light snapped out of it, pulling on a creepy, ugly mask. A clear attempt to blend in that actually made him look conspicuous. They flew towards the bustling city of Dagas, hitting the ground outside the walls. Nemumu confirmed the plan. Stay invisible, register at the guild to climb the ranks, and use their status to gather dirt on the concord of tribes. Gold pointed out, if we fly in, we're instantly busted. They agreed to walk. Deep in the forest, they heard shouts, a gang of dwarves cornering a father and daughter. Nemumu handled the robbery with zero effort, leaving the dwarves instantly defeated and tied up in the forest. The dad, super grateful, offered them a lift to Dagas. He was honestly shocked that such powerful warriors weren't even registered adventurers, but assured Light that Dagas, a trade hub bordered by 3 kingdoms, was the ideal place to start. The dad, who introduced himself as Colonel, said he runs an inn that welcomes everyone, a small stand against the massive amount of human discrimination. Dagas was loud and exciting, but the Adventurers Guild was still a hot mess of race issues. Light saw humans getting pushed aside. He went to register and they immediately slammed him with the lowest tier, rank F. Nemumu lost her composure. Are you serious? Light is S-rank material, fix your attitude. The receptionist sneered openly, telling the smelly human to know her place. Light stopped Nemumu before she started a fight, took the rank F with quiet fury, and they left. They headed straight for Colonel's Inn. Light dropped a huge bag of gold to rent the entire top floor for a month. No staff allowed up there. Colonel tried to refuse the money, saying Light saved his life, but Light insisted, and the payment was finally accepted. The barriers went up. After Light removed his mask, Nemumu got worried again, saying Light shouldn't risk himself. Light lashed out, "Are you trying to stop my revenge?" His aura returned, and Nemumu hit the floor, begging for forgiveness. Light quickly apologized. He knows she just wants him safe. Next morning, it was dungeon time. They were waiting in line when 3 cloaked figures rudely cut right in front of some young human adventurers. Light, done with ignoring disrespect, tells them, "Get to the back of the line." One guy flips out, shocked a human would speak to him, and reaches for his weapon. Light gave him a cold look. "Noble family? You don't want a scene." They back down, but the angry one snarls, "This isn't over." The humans cheer for Light's unprecedented guts. The young adventurers are worried about Light's lack of supplies, since this dungeon takes days. Light ignores them, and they enter. Once inside, Light uses flight and concealment magic to blitz through floors unnoticed. Meanwhile, in the jungle, the angry elf rips off his cloak, screaming, "His name is Kaido, a white knight with maestro blood, and he vents his rage by slaughtering every orc in his path." He's mad his level is stuck at 1,500, even though that's way past the normal elf cap of 700. He vows to shatter that limit with the help of his dark elf companion. Light's team clears the 3rd floor and heads back. They see the young adventurers fighting goblins, and Light drops down just in time to kill a bush snake sneaking up on the mage. He warns them about their surroundings. Suddenly, a bunch of wolves appear, but they are running away terrified. Why? Because a huge, monstrous mantis is right behind them. The young adventurers freeze, and Light is the only one standing resolute between them and the beast. As the adventurers face an imminent assault from a quadsicle mantis, they freeze, exclaiming that it was supposed to have been exterminated a decade ago. Preparing to retreat, they plan a distraction. Their leader, Rico, commands Light's party to help throw the monster off balance. Light asks if it's acceptable to hunt the mantis, despite the retreat plan. Gold remarks the creature probably packs a punch, and Nemumu estimates its level at about 500. The adventurers insist that fighting it is a death sentence, but Light confidently states they'll be just fine. The mantis launches its attack, which Gold immediately intercepts. Gold notes, the mantis is tanking his attacks well, prompting Nemumu to call him a sore loser. Light then begins his own attack with a single fire arrow. Rico asks their caster, Mia, to help, but she is distracted, fangirling over Light's ability to cast combat class spells without an incantation. Rico insists they still need to help, but Gold tells them to watch and learn, demonstrating how a good counter can turn the tide of battle. Gold's move throws the mantis off guard, proving a well-timed attack is far more effective. Light follows up with a flurry of fire arrows, using precise control to hit all the mantis's weak points so it can't swat them away. Mia continues to fangirl over his magic control as Light converges the arrows for a powerful blow. Sensing its weakness, Light issues a kill command, but the mantis tries to flee. Light stops it with Firewall, a tactical class spell, which prompts more ecstatic fangirling from Mia. She remarks that even elves struggle with this, and that Light is making history with his talent. As the mantis attempts to escape by flying, Nemumu takes a giant leap and eliminates it with one fell swoop. While happy with the kill, Nemumu faces Gold's remark that she destroyed all the useful parts, for which she frantically apologizes. Fortunately, Gimra, one of the human adventurers, manages to salvage the magic gem from the rubble. Light notes that his party can probably rank up now with the gem. To the surprise of the human adventurers, Light reveals that his party is only rank F, as they are just starting out, despite Rico's initial thought that they might be famous rank S adventurers. To repay Light's party for their kindness, Mia forms a water ball for them to freshen up. Light thanks them for the gesture. The adventurers invite Light's party to join their camp for the evening. Light politely refuses, but Rico insists, citing the approaching darkness and dangers. More importantly, Rico adds, Mia would love to pick Light's brain about his magical talents, and Light obliges. At the camp, Mia praises Light's magic, and Light returns the compliment. Mia rejects the comparison, claiming she can't cast voiceless spells, let alone tactical class ones. When Rico asks if that's a big deal, Mia confirms it is impressive. She explains that combat class spells, like Fire Arrow, Ice Sword, are for single targets. Tactical class spells are area of effect spells, targeting a much larger area. Strategical class spells control the environment and can cause global impact, tsunamis, earthquakes, meteorites, which usually requires multiple mages compiling mana and reciting spells. Mia adds that humans have a hard time with these advanced spells, unlike the other advanced races, which makes Light's effortless casting legendary. Rico admits he doesn't understand magic well, but can see that Light is talented and kind-hearted. He states that Mia was good enough to get into the Duchy's Academy of Magecraft, so she will one day be just as talented. The Duchy is revealed to be the nation mutually created by the races, formerly known as the Principality of Nine. Gold remarks that Mia must be incredibly talented to be invited by the world's most prestigious academy. Rico reveals Mia never attended because they lost their parents to an epidemic, which is why she, Gimra, and Wordy travel together to make ends meet. They hope to one day gather enough funds for her to attend. Light sees a reflection of his own family in their camaraderie and reassures them that it will all be fine. The human adventurers then ask Light's party why they are adventurers. Light facetiously remarks that he lost his family to a house fire. Namumu further elaborates that Light now wears a mask to hide the burn scars from that incident, and that they are on a journey to find a potion to help. Gold adds that she and Namumu are deeply indebted to Light's parents, which is why they are traveling together. To cut the tension, Gimra asks if Gold and Namumu are an item, which immediately causes the two to start bickering again. Meanwhile, Kaido is seen cutting down a mob. Yanak, a dark elf, praises his work, but Kaido retorts that his weapon, the legendary Grandius, is wasted on low-level trash mobs. Yanak tells Kaido to relax, explaining this was necessary to study the growth limits of the races, and they now need a sample from humans to further his research. We cut back to Light's party, who goes to turn in the magic core from the Mantis to the guild's amazement. Due to the incredible feat of killing the monster, Namumu states that they should have S rank because of their demonstrated strength. It is during this exchange that they find out their party has been nicknamed the Black Motelli. On their way back to the dungeon, they are intercepted by adventurers Suvelin and Gilbert. They express how inspirational it is that a group of humans killed the Mantis, and that they are rooting for them. They are elated that someone can show what humans are capable of to the other races. As Suvelin and Gilbert run off to enter the dungeon, other races are seen remarking that all of this is nonsense, and that none of Light's accomplishments happened. Light's party agrees they must show everyone the truth through their accolades. Upon entering the dungeon, they decide to head for the 5th floor, but run into their friends from the camp. The human group is excited, as Mia has a gift for Light's party, an ointment for Light's burns, a family recipe passed down from her deceased grandmother as a show of thanks. Light happily accepts. Noticing her kind nature, Light gives Mia a bracelet of her own, which Mia vows to treasure forever. We find out that this was an SSR bracelet. Namumu remarks that it didn't seem like a wise trade for some homemade ointment, given the bracelet's value. Light insists it was perfect for her, given her nature. Gold remarked that the bracelet can make small miracles happen if they truly wished for it, making it perfectly suited for someone like her. And Namumu conceded. Upon arriving at the 5th floor, Light uses a teleportation card to check in at the Abyss. He is greeted in the throne room by Ellie, Mei, Aoyuki, and Nazuna. Light reports things are going well, and he was able to see some good in the world. He then checks on the revenge plot, and Ellie reports everything is proceeding as planned. Light tells them to keep up the good work, assigning Mei to manage things in the abyss, Aoyuki to continue scouting, and Nazuna to keep everyone safe, noting this fits her clumsy persona. The others ask if Nazuna is fine with this, and she replies she can't do anything until the others finish the preparation anyway. Light concludes he can't wait to get a look of Sasha's face when the big day comes. The scene cuts back to the third floor, where Sullivan and Gilbert are discussing the Black Motelli. They find it hard to believe the stories are true, but make peace with the possibility, hoping it will turn society on its head and help the human image. Suvelin takes a bathroom break, but upon his return, he sees that Kido has eliminated his entire party. Arrogantly, Kido states that humans are loathsome creatures. Suvelin tries to formulate an escape plan while Kido monologues. Suvelin throws a smoke bomb and makes a break for it, but is intercepted by an invisible attack. Kido pursues Suvelin on a magic surfboard like the Silver Surfer. Suvelin is promptly knocked out by Yanak, who scolds Kido for killing all the humans, as he needs plenty of samples for his experiments. Kido agrees to be more careful, but vows to destroy anyone who fights back. Yanak concludes that even useless humans can find value if they are part of his experiment. The party returned to the guild hall, where Nemumu immediately demanded Light's promotion. The guild clerk informed them that Light had already been promoted to D rank based on their recent achievement, but Nemumu wasn't satisfied. She demanded he be elevated all the way to SEX rank. Gold quipped that this sounded like something from a bad hentai. The clerk remained firm, suggesting that perhaps another significant achievement would help their cause. The party retired to their accommodations to discuss their next move. Light examined a wanted poster and noted that the adventurer killer was on the loose. He suggested that capturing him might be an excellent way to rank up quickly. Gold agreed with the plan and recommended using Light's gotcha ability to help gather more information about the suspect. Light remarked that the randomness of his ability might not get them the results they wanted. Nemumu suggested calling someone in from the abyss for assistance. Gold agreed, noting that then they could cast a wider net of people to help with the search. Light stated firmly that they couldn't let the criminal get away with it, as he was specifically targeting human adventurers. Suddenly, they sensed someone approaching. A portal materialized in their room, and Mia tumbled through. Light caught her and immediately noticed she was in terrible condition. The bracelet that Light had given her suddenly snapped, indicating that its protective miracle had been completely used up. They quickly moved Mia to bed, where she mumbled deliriously about needing to hurry to Light and tell him what was happening. Light cast a healing spell on her, which eased her pain and allowed her to relax. He apologized to Mia, explaining that he had to peek into her memories and used his SR rank hypnosis spell. The vision revealed Mia's party discussing the adventurer killer with an unknown group. The strangers reiterated that all the victims of the adventurer killer were humans. Rico exclaimed, "Are you sure it's not a monster?" The other party revealed that the killer must be human because he could cast spells of different attributes at the same time. Mia exclaimed that if that was true, they didn't stand a chance. The other party decided to bail and advised that Rico's party do the same. Rico thanked them for the warning. Gimra asked what they should do, and Rico decided they should leave as soon as possible since it was almost dark. They started trekking out of the dungeon. Night had already fallen, but they hadn't even made it halfway to the exit. Rico understood that they couldn't rest due to the danger of the adventurer killer lurking somewhere in the darkness. Suddenly, they were met by Kido and Yanak. Gimra remembered that they'd run into them before in the line to the dungeon. Mia reminded Rico of the adventurer killer, and he informed Kido's party about the dangerous situation. Kido remarked that it made sense why all these adventurers seemed to be leaving the dungeon, and thanked them for their advice. Yanak stated coldly that they should have done a better job of covering it up, much to the party's surprise. Kido stated that he was surprised they had reacted so quickly. Yanak agreed, noting that the guild was more efficient than they had thought. Rico finally started catching on and fearfully asked them what was happening. Yanak condescendingly stated that he shouldn't have to spell it out. Kido sneered that humans were as dumb as dirt and drew his weapon. Rico stated that he should have known better. Yanak stated that he was surprised they had reacted so quickly. Yanak agreed, noting that the guild was more efficient than they had thought. Rico finally started catching on and fearfully asked them what was happening. Yanak condescendingly stated that he shouldn't have to spell it out. Kido sneered that humans were as dumb as dirt and drew his weapon. Riko fearfully realized what was happening. Kido stated that they were the last group of bugs he was going to squash today. Riko's party yelled in horror that it was the adventurer killer. Kido agreed with a twisted smile and stated he was guilty as charged. Riko told Mia to run for it while they held him off. Kido got annoyed and stated that they wouldn't escape. He immediately struck down Riko, Gimra, and Wardy with devastating speed. Mia was frozen in fear, but Wardy stood up and told her to run. Gimra joined Wardy, and they charged in together. Kido, annoyed, cleaved them again, striking them down to Yanok's dismay. He reminded Yanok that he would strike down any human that dared to stand up to him. Yanok stated that Kido had killed too many. Kido responded that he had left one alive, referencing Mia. Yanok was happy that she was a mage and very valuable, though he lamented that the males would have also been good samples for his experiments. Kido dismissed his concern and stated he would be more careful next time. Kido approached Mia and asked Yanok if he would like to join him in violating her. Yanok rejected the offer. Mia fearfully told Kido to back off, but Kido stated that she shouldn't be afraid. After all, a future legendary hero was about to claim her, and there would be no higher honor. He commanded her to weep tears of joy. At this moment, Riko got up, heavily wounded, and told Mia to run. Yanok was impressed by his resilience and complimented how Riko held on to life. He insisted that Kido spare him for his experiments. Riko realized he was on death's door, but he was driven to save Mia. He told Mia to run again and to live a long life. Yanok asked Kido to pursue, much to Kido's annoyance. Riko attempted an attack but was instantly thwarted. Yanok reminded him to keep both of them alive. Riko started remembering Gold's teachings about desperate straits. He threw his weapon as a distraction and used his shield to attack Kido. The hit landed, and Kido was knocked down. Kido, absolutely infuriated, attacked Riko with a devastating blow from his legendary sword. He screamed that no one gets away with attacking his pretty face and walked over to strike him some more. Yanok intercepted him and asked him to go after Mia instead, as she was escaping. They couldn't let the outside world know what was happening. Mia was running, but she was intercepted by 3 spear-like blades. They were copies of Grandius. Kido had caught up, riding on another copy of Grandius that he'd fashioned into a mount. He stated that she needed a lesson from the future legendary hero. He exclaimed that he could create multiple copies of the legendary blade Grandius and control them all with his will. This was the power of the Elven Queendom's Phantasma class weapon. Kido used them as a staircase to descend down to her position. Mia made her last stand and started casting. She stated that she couldn't waste this opportunity given to her by her party, and she cast Ice Sword. This was immediately countered by Kido, but Mia used this opportunity to make a break for it. Kido immediately closed the gap with another Grandius copy and told her to just submit to the legendary hero's desires. Mia retorted that he was no legendary hero. That title should be reserved for people who are kind and strong, such as Light. Kido was just a bully. This triggered a painful memory for Kido as he remembered people in the past saying the same thing to him, how he got kicked out of the White Knights, and how he had already hit his level cap. Mia continued to berate him, calling him a spineless loser, probably hitting one of his many triggers at this point. With that, Kido told her to shut up and sent several blades her way. Mia stood her ground and tried to find a way out to tell Light of the situation. At that moment, the bracelet that was gifted to her started glowing and activated, returning us to the present, where Light was furious. He issued a command. "Let's go." Back in the dungeon, we see Yanok attempting to heal Riko, fearful he would lose another specimen. Kido returned after having lost Mia. Yanok asked if he found her, but Kido was too busy looking for Mia to answer. Yanok exclaimed, "How did a previous member of the White Knights get bested by a little girl?" Kido, obviously triggered again, stated that she just disappeared with a magic teleportation item. Yanok stated that was impossible, that a little girl had such a valuable item on her. Kido retorted that she did. Yanok, now fearful, stated that this was bad news. The guilds would find out about their exploits and report it back to the Elven Queendom, who would then put together where the stolen Grandius had gone. We see Kido fearful for the first time. Kido thought to himself that the White Knights would come for them, along with their infernal captain. Yanok revealed that the captain was rumored to have a level above 3,000, and the White Knights under his command were all over level 2,000, and all of them were equipped with weapons on par with the Grandius. Kido started throwing a tantrum, knowing full well he was only level 1,500 and not as legendary as he had claimed. Yanok asked him to calm down, because if they could complete his research, they could exceed his current level limit. Kido was finally placated and stated that they could finally go up against the White Knights if that were to happen. Yanok prepared to make his move, but at this moment, Light appeared. Yanok asked who he was, but Kaido remembered him. More importantly, he was surprised that Light was able to sneak up on him, a level 1,500 warrior. Light approached his fallen friends. Gimra and Wardy had passed. Gold had retrieved Rico and stated that he still had signs of life due to some subpar healing that had been done. Yanok wondered how they got them without noticing. Light activated a healing spell on Rico and asked Kido and Yanok why they would do this. Why did they have to make these children suffer such injustice? They had survived a world of discrimination and strived for a better future for Mia. They absolutely did not deserve this. He stated that it was too late to change anything now, but he would have loved to be close friends with them if circumstances had allowed. He concluded that, obviously, he would make Kido and Yanok pay. Kido revealed his ruse and stated that if that was the case, he got lucky. All he needed to do was kill them before word got back, and things would go his way because he was a hero. Light questioned the word hero and remarked that it was a funny thing for a scumbag to say. He claimed them as his prey to smite and stated that he wouldn't let the guild have them. He went on to say that Kido and Yanok would suffer as much as Rico's party did, and more. So much so that they would be begging to die. And he swore that once they got to that point, he would take their lives from them. He told Nemumu and Gold to stay put and approached the elven duo. All the while, Kido was monologuing about how he would slice them up. Kido leapt into the air and attacked Light, but was blocked effortlessly. Light mocked him, and Kido continued his assault, yelling profanities all the while. Light effortlessly blocked him. Yanok was mind-blown that a human, let alone a human child, was standing up to Kido. Kido continued his futile assault, while Gold and Nemumu remarked that he was just swinging his sword like a mad dog. Light, getting tired of this pathetic display, finally countered and knocked him back with a quick strike to the gut. Light mocked Kido and said if he didn't do better than that, he would accidentally kill him before getting his revenge. Kido, triggered as always, activated Grandius and went on a rampage. He attacked with the phantasmal blade, copies of Grandius, revealing that each of the blades had different attributes. Light was surprised and started dodging effortlessly. Kido appeared behind Light, using one of the blades as a foothold, and attacked him. But Light caught his attack with his bare hand, much to Yanok's surprise. Kido exclaimed that Light was cheating, that no one should be able to stand up to him and Grandius. He stated that Light must be a warrior dressed as a mage due to his resilience. Light retorted that this was no trick and that he was just a mage. Kido insisted that no mage could stand up to him. Gold remarked that it was understandable that Kido was confused, as Light was truly one of a kind. Nemumu remarked that Unlimited Card Mage had a nice ring to it. Now, Light released the same spell Mia had used earlier, Ice Sword, but it was magnitudes more powerful, with many more projectiles. Kido was surprised by the incantationless cast, but made a charge for it with Grandius in tow. Light effortlessly eliminated all of the Grandius clones. Yanok remarked that not even 11 mages could do this. Kido continued his barrage with little effect. Light had an impenetrable defense surrounding him. He had used Ice Sword as a barrier. Kido was triggered again and said that the maestro of old was bequeathed Grandius by the heavens themselves. This finally caught Light's attention, and he asked Kido how he knew about it. Kido started laughing and stated that he was born with the blood of a maestro and was deemed a sub-maestro. Hearing word about the maestro for the first time in a while, Light immediately altered his plan. He informed Gold and Nemumu that instead of slaying the elves now, they would capture them and bring them back to the abyss. There, he would use every measure possible to drain them of every piece of information before finally dealing with them. Kaido still failed to grasp the magnitude of Light's power and simply mocked him. He boasted that his sword was a divine gift bestowed upon a hero from the heavens, claiming heroes like him were distinct from the start. He then launched into prejudiced remarks, asserting that their very genes were different, making him superior. Ignoring the elf's taunts, Light turned to Gold and Nemumu, assigning them their tasks. He would handle Kaido, while they were to capture Yanak alive. Gold and Nemumu immediately drew their weapons and followed the command. Yanak, surprisingly confident, claimed he was merely a scientist, not a battle mage, but warned them not to underestimate him. With a snap of his finger, two hooded figures behind him transformed, emerging from the darkness as grotesque, twisted chimeras, monsters made of multiple body parts from different creatures. Yanak excitedly explained his creations were built from humans, orcs, and trolls, noting that the only flaw was the need for multiple human parts to stabilize them. He claimed this technique allowed weak creatures with a level cap to become strong. Light caught sight of a face on one monstrosity and instantly recognized the man who had congratulated him just that morning. Saddened but resolute, Light instructed Gold and Nemumu to quickly end the monster's misery and ensure Yanak could not escape. He would deal with the scientist later. Yanak merely laughed, ordering the chimeras to attack. However, Gold and Nemumu struck them down with a single slash each. Yanak simply smiled, assuring them his monsters were not so easily defeated. As he spoke, the chimeras stood back up, ready for round 2. Kaido also went on the offensive, using his magical sword to launch blades of light at Light. Light easily dodged the first volley and backed off as the second blasted past him. Across the battlefield, one hybrid monster attacked Nemumu. She leaped back, slashing at its arms, asking it to yield easily. Gold laughed, asking where her usual confidence had gone. Nemumu snapped back that he didn't seem fully energized either, but Gold just chuckled, saying he was only getting warmed up. The other monster attacked Gold. Gold met the charge head-on, but the monster dodged and counterattacked. Gold blocked the blow with his shield, but was pushed back. Yanak, laughing maniacally, urged them to surrender, promising to go easy on them during his experiments. Creeped out by the dark elf, Nemumu asked Gold if they could end the fight immediately. Gold agreed, and they decided to unleash their ultimate attacks. Nemumu's daggers began to glow an eerie purple, and Gold's sword radiated a searing white light as they prepared to strike. Yanak remained relaxed, convinced his hybrid's incredible regenerative abilities made them invincible. But his laughter quickly choked in his throat as he realized his monsters were not regenerating. They were being burned to ashes. Stunned, he rushed to see what was wrong, but Nemumu intervened, ensuring he could not father any children. Meanwhile, Light completely overwhelmed Kaido with ice magic, forcing the elf to stumble and fall. Light approached him, taunting, "Why are you backing out after starting the fight?" The taunt triggered a memory of Rico taunting him, reigniting his hatred. Kaido screamed that humans were beneath him and deserved to be removed from the planet. He got back up and unleashed the true power of the legendary sword Grandius, which extended into the sky. When Kaido swung the blade, Light was forced to back off. Light noted that the sword was now enchanted with multiple types of magic, behaving more like a whip with its swerving and curving movements. Nemumu and Gold watched from a distance, deeming it an interesting technique for a low-rank peasant, but they knew it couldn't stand up to Light's power. Kaido grew more frustrated, screaming at Light to stop being a coward and stand still, claiming one hit from his legendary blade would end Light's bloodline. Light merely laughed at his wild overestimation of power. He dropped back to the ground, hands outstretched, daring Kaido to strike him. Enraged, Kaido swung the sword with full strength, hitting Light squarely on the shoulder with extreme force. To Kaido's shock, Light stood there completely unscratched, smiling as he asked if that was the limit of his power. Kaido's brain short-circuited. He began swinging his sword wildly, unable to accept being bested despite owning the legendary weapon. Light quickly ended the charade by shattering the sword's enchantment and delivering an uppercut that knocked Kaido back to the ground with a bloodied face. Light stood over him, eyes filled with disgust. He declared that he would extract all information using any means at his disposal, and he would continue until Kaido begged for the sweet release of death. Kaido instantly realized his doom and changed his demeanor, bowing and begging for mercy. He revealed he was from the Queendom of the Elves and had once been next in line to captain the legendary White Knights. Light looked down with contempt, demanding to know how he dared call himself a hero when he folded so easily. Light stated the real heroes were Mia's party members, who fought to the end. Light then removed his mask, offering to let Kaido go if he could land a single scratch. But Kaido was too broken to fight and ran, unable to believe his fate. Light pursued him, seeking to torture him as Kaido had tortured Mia. He blasted one of the elf's legs with an SSR solar ray, knocking him to the ground in agony. With both elves bound, Light gathered the fallen members of Mia's party. Since they couldn't bury them safely in the monster-filled dungeon, they used teleportation magic to take everyone back to the abyss. When the elves awoke, they were confused to find themselves in a huge throne room. Light informed them they were at the bottommost level of the abyss, his home. Yanok couldn't believe anyone could live at the bottom of the world's most dangerous dungeon, but Namumu quickly kicked him into silence. Light's 4 faithful servants immediately arrived there, welcoming him. Light explained the situation. These scumbags used humans for inhumane experiments, resulting in many senseless deaths. The atmosphere immediately chilled, and the elves felt the dangerous power emanating from the 4 women, realizing just how thoroughly outmatched they were. May asked if Light wanted them to suffer the worst pain imaginable, and the others offered ideas for gruesome ways to end the elves. But Light commanded they be kept alive until he had all the information he needed, promising to end them himself afterward. They all agreed, and Light turned to Gold and Namumu, telling them to make sure Mia's brother, Rico, healed completely and to create a burial site for the 2 brave friends who gave their lives to protect Mia. By the time Mia woke up, she found Light sitting beside her at the inn, confused and dazed. Light lied, telling her he had found her unconscious in the dungeons and brought her to safety. It all came back to her. She looked around, spotting only her brother Rico sleeping peacefully beside her. Light assured her that her brother was in a deep healing sleep from severe injuries, but would recover fully. The moment darkened as Light confessed he could not save her friends, recovering only a few hair strands, which he handed over. She wept for her lost friends but found solace in having her brother to share the burden. The next morning, Light's party headed to the front desk, where the receptionist promoted Light to rank C. Light was confused, as he had lied to the guild, claiming the elves got away. The receptionist explained that the information Light provided about the 2 elves was substantial enough for the promotion. Soon after, they met Mia and her brother again, who appeared calm despite yesterday's violent attack. They informed Light they were quitting adventuring and returning home. Light asked why they wouldn't just form a new party, but Mia claimed she wanted to self-teach herself magic and needed to leave this place. Her brother added that it felt wrong to continue without their childhood best friends, and moreover, they needed to return their friends' belongings to their families. With that, Light bid them good luck, promising they would meet again soon. He then told Gold and Namumu to hold the fort while he teleports back to the abyss. He is immediately greeted by May and Ellie, who offer him tea and a bundle of notes detailing all the information extracted from the elves. Ellie revealed that Submaestro is not a single person, but a title given to anyone related to the Maestro, who gained levels easily. May added that every member of the White Knight group are Submaestros, making Kaido nothing special. They also reported the elves' claim that the world would be destroyed if the appearance of a Maestro was kept unchecked. This confused Light, as he wondered how one Maestro could make that big a difference. This meant their next step was to capture the White Knights for questioning. He then asked Ellie about Kaido and Yanok, and she showed him they were in a purgatory realm, being tortured day and night. Light declared they had served their purpose and used the special spell card SSR Dead Man's Banquet to end them in the most horrifying way possible. He then turned to Ellie, asking if they were ready for the next phase of the plan. Ellie smiled, confirming they were ready to capture Sasha, the elf who betrayed Light years ago. She added that Sasha was also engaged to the leader of the White Knights, giving them another reason to target the group. Light pondered the satisfying feeling he would get when he found Sasha begging him for mercy. And that's it for this week. Please like and subscribe, and we will see you next time.